I come to this project also as a photographer, obviously, and as, moreover, a really firm believer in what Michael Roberts and both Jeffrey emphasized that sort of distinguishes this particular work, and that is that its focus is on ordinary people. I'm a photographer of ordinary people. I'm not interested in photographing famous people or people who think of themselves, and this is really a special, an important thought behind the work that I try to do. People who aren't necessarily famous but think of themselves as special don't tend to interest me. And so the people who figure on the cover of Chinese characters include sex workers, they include street kids, they include people who are involved in traditional arts of various kinds. They include people met along the way in various parts of China, whether it's Shanghai, which is well represented on the cover, but also the furthest flung parts of the country.
Megan, can you tell us what's been going on with the car rental king?
Yeah, so Ray Zhang originally wanted to take his company public. There have been some obstacles to that. So what he's done in lieu of that is Enterprise Holdings just bought a 15% stake in the company this last spring, and they were also given a position on the board. It's a tricky time right now for a lot of Chinese companies to list because in the past 2 years there have been so many problems with accounting irregularities and also just outright fraud in some cases. So I think a lot of companies are trying to protect their brand. There's the other company that I do mention in my chapter is Legend Holdings China Auto Rental Company, which is Ehai's main competitor. They also plan to list an IPO on NASDAQ in April, but ended up withdrawing it. So I think it might be some time before they move ahead. It's also just a very interesting time for the Chinese car rental market because there's been such a huge compound annual growth rate. From 2007 to 2011, it was something like 30%, and from 2012 to 2016, it's again going to be 16%. This, while the Chinese car market for people buying cars is also going to continue to increase, especially when you're talking about passenger cars. So it's very interesting, and I think no matter what, he's in a really good spot. He's really positioned himself at this crossroads where people want to have this kind of freedom. Sometimes these freedoms might be restricted, like the policies with Beijing restricting how many plates that it's giving out. Guiyang also did this in 2010. That was one of the reasons that sales were slowed. And now, more recently in July, Guangzhou. So he is providing these kind of services that people want, and whether or not they list, I think that they'll be a successful company for many years to come.
Great. We're gonna.
But there is a very old saying about the Sichuan. So every of you, if you want to write about Sichuan, you should know this. So I'm going to say it in Chinese. If you understand, that's good. Then I will translate. So it's 少不入川，老不出川. If you, I start some Chinese physics so you guys could understand. So anyway, and what it means is, when you're young, don't enter Sichuan. When you're old, don't leave Sichuan. Why? Because Sichuan in this concept actually means Chengdu, because Chengdu has been the capital of Sichuan. And Chengdu is a city, has a very leisurely lifestyle. So it's very opposite to my home city, Chongqing.
Absolutely.
Although Chongqing and Chengdu are only 2 hours separated by train now. When I was young, it was overnight train. Now it's this, what do you call it? Speed.
Bullet train.
动车. In Chinese, they call it 动车. So it only takes 2 hours now between Chongqing and Chengdu. So why does this saying say, when you're young, don't enter Chengdu, and when you're old, don't leave Chengdu? Because Chengdu is so nice for living. If you're young, you don't want to work anymore. You just want to live there. But if you're old because it's so nice, of course you shouldn't go out. so that's a very old saying in Sichuan, and very good. It's a very good characterization of Chengdu's lifestyle.